G'day, everyone. I was told I wouldn't be clear if anyone could hear me, but that makes that sounding better now. Welcome to this session, Innovative Australian Hydrogen Solutions. My name is Anna Freeman and I'm a Policy Director for Decarbonisation at the Clean Energy Council in Australia, and we are the peak body for the renewable energy sector, representing over 1,000 member companies distributed across the value chain of large-scale projects and the distributed energy sector in Australia. Welcome to this session. Australia, of course, as you have no doubt heard over the last couple of days around the pavilion, if you visited our pavilion as well over in the back corner there, has a big advantage in being renewable energy resource rich and big aspirations as a clean energy superpower. But we also have a big need for decarbonisation solutions, given the historically high carbon intensity of our electricity system and heavy industries. And there is a raft of innovative solutions emerging from Australia to help us meet the decarbonisation challenge. We're going to be considering innovation in a variety of different ways in the next half an hour. It can be new technologies, new processes, but it's also about the way that we put projects together, the way we structure the finance, the collaboration, and the partners that we bring in. So let me welcome our panellists for this session, who will give us a bit of a taste of the hydrogen innovations and developments that are currently underway in Australia and how they can help both Australia and the world decarbonise. So first, on my left, on your right, is Mark Rheinlander, a serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Carbon 280, which is backed by Woodside, an oil and gas company in Australia, also Hive Energy, and Worley, who's the engineering services consultancy. And Carbon 280, which you're going to tell us about in a minute, is seeking to help solve the decarbonisation challenge, but in particular the storage of hydrogen through a safe, non-toxic, low-cost, ultra-scalable hydrogen carrier known as Hydrolite. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much. That's Hydrolite, so we can have a look at that a bit later on.
All right, let me introduce the rest of the panellists and then we will come back to this magical little product over here in the jar. Our next panellist in the middle is Glenn Corrie, who is CEO and Managing Director of the Hazer Group, a company that's listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, Glenn, and which has developed a low-cost, low-emissions methane pyrolysis technology which delivers clean hydrogen and graphite or graphitic carbon.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then finally to Peter Conway on the end, Commercial Director at Energy Estate, which is an international project developer involved in a range of renewable energy and renewable hydrogen projects aimed at helping to decarbonise supply chains in Africa, Australia and the UK. Welcome to each of you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'm going to start by asking if you will just tell us a little bit about the product or the solution that you're developing. So, Mark, tell us about Hydrolite and what's special about it.
Right. Okay. Well, as you can see, it's a pumpable form of storage. So you can think of it. It's a metal hydride dust which is suspended in an oil. It's completely safe to handle. So we had a little safety moment on our stand yesterday when Claire Jackson from Hydrogen UK spilt some on her backpack. Unfortunately, her backpack was fine and so was Claire because it's that safe. So if you get it on your hands, you just wash it off.
So you can open that lid.
So we can open this. I wasn't going to do this on stage because you know how this is always a dangerous thing to do. But
touchable hydrogen.
Yeah. So that the hydrogen there's storage here is the same as hydrogen at 750 bar. And we can go up, so that's around about 700 bars, about 38 kilograms per meter cubed. We've got more than that in there, and we can vary the storage density of our product, so we can get up to, we've got a sample in the lab that's at 79.6 kilograms per meter cubed, which I think is pretty impressive amongst the material carriers. So as well as being safe, it's scalable, it's made from cheap and abundant materials. There's no sort of geopolitical sensitivity with it.
And what do you do with it?
Well, it's for storing hydrogen. So if you need to store your hydrogen or move your hydrogen, then you can move this. You can put it in a conventional fuel truck to move it, or ships that move, say, crude oil today can be used to move it at scale.
And then you'd reconvert it at the other end, or
to get the hydrogen out, you just heat it up. The hydrogen comes off. So it's a very simple plant, no catalyst in the plant. And when the hydrogen comes off, it comes off really clean, so we don't need any purification. In fact, it's coming off in the lab tests, and we're expecting to verify this with the pilot plant, but it's coming off clean enough to go straight into a fuel cell.
Right, fantastic. Well, very impressive, and look forward to hearing a little bit more in a moment. Let's go to Glenn Corrie, CEO of Hazer. Hazer has its own process for clean hydrogen with a graphite
Co-product.
Co-product, not a byproduct. Tell us about it.
Thanks, Anna. So we've developed a technology that is effectively a very innovative methane pyrolysis technology. So effectively what we do is we take harmful methane, which is 25 times more harmful than CO2, of course, and we convert that into pure and clean hydrogen and graphite. So we're one technology that effectively serves three markets: the hydrogen market, the graphite market, which is of course growing, and then of course the decarbonisation market. Our X factors, if you like, or our innovation as a technology is that we use iron ore as a catalyst. So we're the only ones effectively in this space that's using a low cost, readily available catalyst. That gives us two, what we think is competitive advantages: a much lower process temperature relative to standard pyrolysis technologies. So we operate at around 800 to 900 degrees, whereas standard pyrolysis technologies operate often above 2000 degrees. So it dramatically lowers our energy intensity and therefore cost. The second advantage of our technology is that we have graphite. And again, back to the standard pyrolysis technologies, generally speaking, carbon black is the co-product. And with graphite, we're very much of the opinion that we're going to attract a much broader market and a much more premium market for both products. So a really innovative technology. We're TRL 7, so very well advanced. And I guess the only other thing to say is that we're a plug-in technology. So anywhere that is utilizing hydrogen today through typically steam methane reformation, we can replace that with effectively clean hydrogen. So for people that are not aware, steam methane reforming, every kilogram of hydrogen comes with 10 kilograms of CO2. We offer a clean substitution for that.
What are the relative advantages about this particular process compared to, steam methane reforming or other options for producing clean hydrogen?
So very good question. So today's market for hydrogen globally is around 100 million tonnes per annum. So to put that into context for people, I generally try to equate that to the LNG market, which is about 350 to 400 million tonnes. So it's a quarter of the LNG market today. So it's a large market and very valuable, valued at around $170 billion. And most of that hydrogen, around 95% of it, is produced through SMR, or steam methane reforming. And of course, every kilogram of hydrogen is 10 kilograms of CO2. So we offer a very unique technology solution that is effectively taking the same feedstock in methane. We produce then and converting it into clean hydrogen, but have a graphitic carbon product which we think has got value. So SMR producing CO2, which is a cost, and Hazer producing graphite, which is a value benefit.
And just one last follow-up question for you, Glenn. I don't know anything about the graphite market.
Yep.
Where is that used?
Yeah, it's actually quite big. The supply side most of the supply today is coming out of China, so that's at risk in itself. I think about 70 to 75% of the market for, well, at least the supply side is Chinese graphite. Graphite typically today is used in all sorts of technologies, battery technology, high-grade lithium-ion batteries, low-grade battery technology, in the effectively the steel-making process. So there's broad range application, and the work that we've done on the market actually is very encouraging. We've joined forces last year with the Mitsui Group to help us look at and explore the market for graphite, and the results that are coming back from that are very encouraging in terms of the application, but also the potential value for it. So we're very excited about it.
Yeah, love a valuable co-product. Fantastic.
Indeed.
Let's go to our final panellist up the other end, Peter Conway. You're bringing another perspective on the innovation story here. I know Energy State has its fingers in many pies in Australia, often tightly involved in the industrial decarbonisation project development. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're coming at it?
Pleasure. Sure. So Energy Estate is an energy provider and producer, and we look across the energy chain. So we will do projects from wind, solar, offshore wind, long duration storage, short duration storage, frequency. We will do anything that we think is necessary to deliver energy. In terms of the electricity market, I think what would perhaps distinguish us is we focus very heavily on load. We think for deep decarbonisation, you can't just think capacity and moving electrons when it's workable for you. You have to provide a holistic solution. You have to provide electrons and deliver electrons where they're needed, when they're needed on a 24/7 hour basis. In terms of Energy Estate as an organisation, I think probably three areas that mark us out. We're multidisciplinary, so we bring together technical specialists, we bring together lawyers, commercial experts, financial experts, so that from the outset of a project, we can look at not only what the kind of the technical route will be to delivery, but also the implications from a commercial and financial sense in terms of making sure we don't make mistakes in the structuring of the project, which later in the process, particularly at the financing end, we may have to remedy. So really understanding that financial side from the outset is incredibly important to us. I think we're highly collaborative. We see innovative solutions on a major scale in the sense of what Glenn and Mark are doing and what their companies are doing. We also see innovation in terms of small individual micro gains. I mean, for those of you who are cycling fans, David Brailsford always talks about incremental gains. And for us, so much of what we do is about incremental gains, the small benefits across the scheme that can really bring big results in the end. So we're massively collaborative. And I think the other thing is we focus very much on the end product. So we look at hydrogen, but then we also look at the derivatives from hydrogen. A lot of people talk about ammonia. We also look at sustainable aviation fuels, e-methanols, and a range of other synthetic petrochemical products that will be necessary going forward that are all non-carbon. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we do.
Deal makers and trying to expand the pie is what comes to mind, Peter. Let me come back to Mark and Glenn. What has the reception been to your different technologies? And we're talking about quite different technologies here. So a hydrogen storage product, TRL, a technology readiness level of, was it 5?
So we're at a 4 or 5 at the moment, heading to a 6, 7 by the completion of our pilot, which is due to complete at the end of 24.
Yep. And so what has the reception been to it in the market? Where are you seeing the most, let's say, prospective applications for it? Is it in moving at long distances? Is it?
So I think, I'll answer that in 2 parts. So in terms of where it's got application, in common with the other material carriers, it's really best suited for large-scale storage and transport of hydrogen. What it isn't is a solution for mobility on board trucks, but it does have a part to play in getting hydrogen from, say, a hub to a truck stop, because it's not a hazardous product. And we know from studies that we've done in the UK that control of major accident hazard regulations will play a part in determining the supply chain of hydrogen to truck stops, for example. The other market verticals that we're looking at are large-scale energy export, industrial hydrogen, and then also hydrogen for firming renewables. In terms of the market reception, I think in common with, we're an early TRL, so there's a lot of interest, a lot of good questions that are coming our way, and a lot of those questions are helping us sort of formulate how we take the product to market as well.
Okay, well, we'll come back to the question about how we accelerate uptake of these in a moment. Glenn, what's the reception been like? I know you've just made an announcement this week that you're working closely with ENGIE in France on a facility, a Hazer facility.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that and what else you might have going on around the globe.
Yeah, so I'll come back to the deal shortly, which is very exciting for us this week. Our target markets as a technology is really anywhere where there's hard to abate sectors, difficult to electrify. What I should have said up front is that our technology plugs into existing infrastructure. So we eliminate the risk of transporting hydrogen or through a vector or whatever into a market. So we essentially will be a technology that is at the front end of a petrochemicals plant, a refinery, anywhere that today uses hydrogen as a fuel source. As I said, effectively reducing the risk of transporting hydrogen. So it's very unique in that we plug in and provide hydrogen at the customer use point for the customer. In terms of our target markets, North America, Europe, Asia, we have joined forces with Chubu Electric and Chiyoda in Japan on a plant in Nagoya, which is very exciting, up to potentially 50,000 tons per annum. We are in other discussions in Asia on potential plants. The attraction of Asia is that there's a huge amount of natural gas, and it's an LNG market, of course. Very difficult market to find access to renewable energy, as well as carbon capture and storage. So natural market for us. Europe, as you said, very proud and honored this week to sign up with the ENGIE group in France to build a plant in Montois, Bretagne. And again, a tier one partner, tier one market. And the real outcome of all that, which is really exciting, is that our technology, through a bunch of feasibility work, has effectively been identified as a low-cost, low-emissions hydrogen technology under EU taxonomy. So we expect that to open up further doors for us in Europe.
Fantastic. The attraction in many ways is too that it's something that is here now and ready and can be applied. So we're not waiting for the newer solutions to come on board. Peter, you've got a finance background. How important is the finance structure in actually helping the innovative solutions to come forward?
Yeah, look, I think it's huge. Traditionally, banks have been pretty reluctant to take on new technology risk. I think one of the great attractions of hydrogen is you have a range of different segments to the overall project, all of which are proven in their own right. So if you take the solar or the wind generation, transmission, reverse osmosis water, into the electrolysis, into ammonia production, each of these elements have been financed individually. I had the privilege of leading the first Middle East reverse osmosis water project, where I advised Veolia Water on the SERV project. I've been involved in a range of other projects in the Middle East where a lot of these elements have come into play. So, we know at Energy Estate that individually there is the due diligence, there is the market knowledge for financing these. What hasn't been done is putting them all together in a single package. And that's a challenge for us now. And that's why understanding how banks will respond to the different challenges becomes so important. I think there are probably a couple of very significant ones. One is if you look at something like LNG, you have the same kind of system. You have power requirements, you have chemical requirements, offtake, all that good stuff. What you had on LNG as a market was you had very large sponsors who were able to provide completion guarantees. I don't think in the hydrogen market you're going to have exactly that solution. because I think a lot of the players don't have the financial balance sheet strength to provide that guarantee. So I think what you're going to end up with is a hybrid solution with smaller construction contracts, not necessarily an all-embracing EPC contract, but 2 or 3 major contracts, and then the challenge will be to manage the interface risk between those contracts. Again, that takes you back to collaboration, how you collaborate with those construction partners, understanding the risk appetite, understanding the challenges around interface, understanding how you make sure those interface risks don't become unpalatable for the financial institutions. I think finally, one of the things we did 2 years ago in the UK was start a series over 6-7 months of engaging with the banks at a very early stage. And this was when the hydrogen market was really, just starting to gather the momentum we now see. And we spent a lot of time with some other market experts working with the banks and really sort of saying, look, this is how we see it unfolding. These are going to be the challenges. Start working with some of the companies now so you understand them. I have to say that's proven to be very effective. And I think it's the bank knowledge around the hydrogen sector has grown as fast as the hydrogen sector itself.
That's what I was wondering. To a large degree, there's a big education piece in order for them to get comfortable with the level of risk and complexity, isn't there?
Yeah.
Glenn, is that something you find as well with projects, in terms of getting the investors comfortable? Obviously, you're a listed company, but
so we're a bit more kind of transparent in terms of our availability of information. But I think it's access to capital is really important. I mean, pre-revenue technologies, of course, rely on capital funding. So we've been beneficial recipient of course, the attractive R&D rebate system on the Australian side, which has been great for us. ARENA government funding as well. So there's lots of policy support in that respect. But we still rely on investors as a capital or a listed company to effectively develop a technology. It's hard on one respect, but beneficial on the other, because from our perspective, I tell investors that we're we're really the only listed methane pyrolysis technology company in the world. So if you're looking for a proxy for investing in this space, we're it. Now it's not, I'm not out there marketing, but really the fact that, we, on one hand, an Achilles heel, but on another hand, a real benefit to us.
All right, well, we have about 8 minutes left. Do we have any questions from the floor to our panellists? While you are mulling that over, I'm going to keep going with another question, but if you do, please put your hand up and a microphone will come to you. A question, Mark, how can we better support across various markets innovation to occur when we are inherently risk averse? We obviously need solutions, and so that's going to push us to find things. But how do we to find those solutions? But how do we get the settings in place to better support innovation, particularly in the sorts of technology readiness levels that your technology is at?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Look, that's an excellent question, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. So, if we're going to address climate change, we need to evolve technologies, many of which are only just coming off lab benches, to fully ready products within a decade. That's a transition that happened in the oil and gas industry over 100 years. So we need policy settings that are different from the ones that we've had in the past. One of the critical things is that, and one of the difficult things to navigate for any startup CEO, is that you're often dealing with a technology that is not proven commercially. Yeah. So institutional investors, quite logically, are looking for commercially proven technologies. So how do you get from a 4 to a 6 is really the question. The issue is that in a software environment, that transition might take a few $100,000, but in a hard tech environment, it costs millions of dollars. Yeah. So this is really where governments can make a difference. So there are some really good policies around the world. US DOE, BEIS in the UK, which are providing 100% funding for SMEs in that transition. So the idea is it needs to be squared away so that large companies can't start dipping into that pot. But that is the thing that will enable a lot of these technologies to get up And it's one of those self-fulfilling things. If you don't fund them, the companies fail, and people say, "Oh, well, we were right not to invest in them." But actually, that's a false logic, right? The reality is many of these technologies can succeed with the right support, and then once they are commercially proven and at 6, then the commercial investment will be there, and that whole pipeline can work much, much more efficiently.
Yep. What kind of support is good support? In Australia, we've got a number of different things. We've got an R&D tax incentive, which I think has played a role over a long period of time. We've got an Australian Renewable Energy Agency, which is also investing in a range of clean energy technologies and trying to lower the cost. What do you think makes the most difference? Glenn, Peter?
Well, I'm going to get a bit more philosophical, if that's all right, because I think the policy needs to develop, as you say, look, I think the funding support is getting there. Of course, Australia came out this week with further support for the hydrogen industry. It's a start, which is great. But look, from a startup perspective, for me, it's people, it's around purpose, and it's around effectively the partnerships. People, you've got to have the right people with the mindset to effectively drive innovation. And there's always going to be naysayers out there that are saying, well, it's not going to work. I mean, you've just got to cut through that and drive through it. In terms
you're a special brand, you technology
it's resilience and
entrepreneurs,
courage,
to be
right?
able to keep going.
Partnerships are really key. I mean, you've got to find the right partners in the right markets that are prepared to jump on board, eyes wide open, and take some risk. And we've been beneficiaries of that with the partners that we've created, and purpose. I mean, for me, Hazer's a double bottom line company. We are effectively all about providing sustainable returns for investors, but doing good things for the planet. And I think that's the model that we take forward, and it's very different from the kind of the traditional model of building a company.
Briefly, anything to add, Peter?
I absolutely endorse that. I think that's part of our DNA as well. I think to answer the question directly, I think for small development companies, development costs. If the government can provide more support for development costs, you'll get more projects happening more quickly. If you have a look at that period of pre-feed, front-end engineering design into your full feed studies, these are incredibly expensive, they're incredibly complex. There's a huge amount of technical, legal, commercial input into those. So government, if you can, support that. And that's not just in Australia, that's globally.
Yeah.
I think in terms of consenting processes, again, it's not a domestic issue for any single government. I think for governments internationally, if you can look at streamlining consenting processes, if you can bring different elements together, different government organizations and departments together to work collaboratively with developers, you can certainly streamline the consenting processes, which again saves costs and time. And again, just to come back to a point I've made over and over again, from our perspective, you can never have too much collaboration. And certainly in large scale, power to hydrogen projects, 2 areas there that I would single out. Transmission costs, if you can expand grids, if government can support and government entities can support grids and reduce costs there, that's a no-brainer. And in terms of water, rather than each company have its own desalination process, government sponsor or work with to have a single, much larger desalination facility. Again, simple area to save costs, make it more efficient for all of us.
Shared infrastructure and planning. Time for one question. Could you please just introduce yourself?
No, you'll have to shout.
Have we got this microphone on? Have another go.
My name is Max. I'm currently a student here in the Netherlands at Delft University of Technology, and just here out of my own interest. And I have a question that's a bit off topic, but mostly because I'm almost graduating, and for all European students here, what's the environment and opportunity for near graduates to come to Australia to work?
I love it. Well, we have very low unemployment at the moment, so I would be calling on the government to allow more skills in. Any comments from the panel?
Well, start.
Yeah,
if that's what
I'll
we're
start.
You're an immigrant yourself.
I am
aren't
an
you?
immigrant. Yeah, you can probably tell by my accent.
An Australia panel filled with Brits, may I
Yeah,
mention? But
yeah.
anyway,
So I migrated to Australia in the 90s. It's a decision I've never regretted. I walk my dog on a beautiful
30
white
seconds.
sandy beach, and I have a fantastic job and lifestyle. So I'll let Glenn.
is that all you got to say?
Well, I mean, look, I'm saying,
Glenn.
okay. So you were hurrying me
Glenn,
up.
Peter, please.
Yeah, well, I would just say give your business card to that man.
Yeah,
there
yeah,
who
that's
works for
right,
us. We
Talk.
look, in all
There's
seriousness,
there's a contract coming your way.
if you're
Yeah.
a process engineer, and what I think what we've found seriously is we've obviously had to draw on resources in Australia from the mining sector and the oil and gas sector, and that's been a challenge because we're pioneering stuff, right? And so there's a mind shift that you need to go through. There's limited resources, to be fair. We're out there recruiting actively today. We have been having trouble finding the right people with the right mindset. So, it comes back to people for me. It's cultural fit is really key. But yeah, love to chat.
We are going to need hundreds of thousands of skilled workers in Australia in engineering, electrical services, a whole range of areas. So please keep us in mind. Please thank our panel and thank you for your attention today.